Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tevora Talks. I am your host, Cash, joined as always by my co-host and partner in cybercrime, Matt Mosley. How are you, Matt? It's been a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I am doing fantastic.
Fantastic is always good, right?
Yep. Have no complaints.
But I don't know if I can say the same about being fantastic in the world of the cyber realm these days. A lot of heat's been happening, I think, from every angle, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, especially in cybersecurity, right?
especially
We've had
cybersecurity.
quite a busy week.
It's been quite a busy week, month, year for us, for sure. In the world of the cyber attack realm, a lot's been going on. We talked about Russia, Ukraine, Anonymous. I'm sure there's some good updates for that we're going to discuss. Most recently, Okta, Microsoft. There's a lot happening. There's a lot happening. But I don't know. Where do we start? Do we start with maybe kind of like a follow up on our last conversation? What's happening in the world of the Ukraine cyber world?
a lot of trolling. I don't know how much damage per se that Anonymous has done, but so last count, according to articles online, is that the online anonymous coalition of international hackers against Russia for in support of Ukraine is around 30,000, which is pretty crazy. But there has been some, from what I can tell, just a lot of fun stuff happening. I mean, there has been some data dumps, but nothing that has been critical to Russia, in my opinion. But maybe I'm wrong. But there was we talked about last time they're jamming radio signals with white noise.
Yeah.
So they're continuing to do that, but they've kind of evolved it to if you were to look at the radio signals with like a spectrogram, where you could visualize the low and high frequencies for the radio, you would see a picture of the troll icon, the guy smiling with the big chin.
Yeah.
So they're they're basically broadcasting like that picture across the radio, so anybody analyzing it would see a big troll face coming down their their screen. They've used icons like the little spaceman from Among Us, so that's been pretty funny to see. They hacked some electrical charging stations for like Tesla and stuff, and the displays will say like F Putin.
Oh, great.
That's been all throughout Russia, I guess. So
No kidding.
yeah, or at least definitely some reports in more than one city, not just Moscow. So that's been happening, which is pretty funny. There was a data dump. I want to say it was from some sort of Russian intelligence organization, but a lot of this stuff, it's hard to know what is true and what's not. And then I haven't looked at that data dump. I looked at some of the early data dumps when the war first started, and there wasn't too much to write home about. I think there was some credentials and just not a whole lot of stuff. So I think people are having fun. Unfortunately, given the nature of what's happening, but they're not really doing a whole lot of damage that we know about on the cyber front for Ukraine. But I think at the very least, just pestering the Russian military through all these different attacks is probably wearing on them. While they're busy doing this, they're not busy attacking Ukraine with cyber attacks. So, or at least that's what we can hope for. So.
Yeah, it sounds like they're just kind of really trying to get under Putin's skin. I don't know if that's possible, but
yeah, correct. I mean, well, they started with the whole crashing his yacht into the Snake Island.
Yeah, the
that
fake
little
crash, right?
Yeah, it was a fake crash, but that little stint, that they did there. And like I said, just not really a whole lot of stuff that's come out as far as super damaging to Russia. But Ukraine, I mean, they have like a Telegram where they have set up, kind of where you can jump in and find out information of what targets they want you to go after. And it's kind of interesting because you could almost infiltrate that channel and then play the other side.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I'm from Ukraine. Like, we want you to target this, and that's actually like, something else. Because you have no idea where this information is coming from, right? These are all like anonymous sources. Um, so I don't know, kind of just a strange time we're living in. I don't think we've ever seen this before. And then, leading up to this, I talked about last time in our episode was that Russia ran and did some dry runs on Ukraine, right? On their power grid and all that stuff. And we're not seeing that, or at least it's not being reported of any of that. So I don't know if Ukraine has upped their security or not, or what, or maybe Russia's just like, yeah, we don't need to take it out through cyber means. We can just bomb it. Right? Because
Yeah, I
I mean,
guess
that seems to
old
be what
school
they're doing.
tactics.
Right. Oh, and on that note, I should say, so one interesting thing that came out of it was Russia's ability to communicate securely. Did you hear about this story?
No, I don't think I have. What is that about?
So Russia, or the forces that have invaded Ukraine, attacked 3G and 4G cell towers, and in doing so, kind of hurt themselves because they weren't able to utilize their secure channels that broadcast or that use those 3G and 4G communications. So they've been communicating on unsecured lines, which would explain some of the radio issues and stuff like that I was talking about. Like, surprised that the military doesn't have secure channels to communicate with. Well, I get, this kind of answered my curiosity here as to why they weren't using secure lines. And in that, general was reporting back to uh, the battle, the office, wherever he had to report to. I don't know. But in the event that he was reporting, he gave away his position, right? Because it's an unsecured line. And he ended up getting killed because of it.
No
Because
way.
Ukraine, or whoever the intelligence that provided his location, was able to
Oh
track it
man.
because he didn't use the secured line. So
Wow.
so pretty interesting there, right? That's how kind of technology on the battlefield is come into play. So
I wonder what they're using, like old World War II radios or Morse code, maybe. Who knows?
yeah, I'm not really sure. It is interesting. I'm waiting to hear like any stories about like drones being attacked, right? Or because they are being heavily utilized, and I think I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say the U.S. just sent about a bunch of little, like, I think they're called blade drones or something, over there. And so it'll be kind of interesting to hear how that works from the security side of things. I remember a long time ago, Iran used some sort of radio jammer or something to capture a US drone. Do you remember that?
Vaguely. I think that
Yeah,
was that a few years back.
it was a lot. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But they were saying that it was a ploy by us, by the United States, to just give them the drone, like a fake information or whatever, because there's no way they could jam a drone and have it land in the country of Iran. But who knows?
Who knows?
Propaganda, man. Who knows what's true and what's not. But it would be interesting to see what happens there. But anyway, that's pretty much the news for right now from the Russia Ukraine cyber war that's happening. Russia's still getting hit by the legion of hackers from around the world. And I'm pretty sure Russia's just kind of shut down to any foreign IPs, right? So anything from Russia's okay, but I'm pretty sure they just locked out geolocated IPs based outside of Russia or outside their allies, so that they cut off a lot of the ankle biters that I'm sure are joining anonymous right now. So
And I mean, I think I saw a post on Twitter or something maybe a week ago, like what life is like in Russia right now for just this average citizen, right? Almost every site that they go to is like blocked, 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 blocked. And a lot of
right,
people in Russia themselves are using VPN so they can at least get online, and that has
Yeah,
to be pretty
that is
crazy.
true. Proton VPN, or Proton, the company Proton that offers Proton Mail and Proton VPN, they had a 3,000% sign up rate from Russia.
That's crazy.
So people could log into, the VPN and then access social media and stuff like that. I did read an article on Reddit, or not article, but a little post on Reddit of, what is it like? A lot of people posted like it's not that bad right now, but they can see it getting worse, right? So like all the major brands have moved out. Getting online, like you said, is really tough. Prices are starting to go up because of all the sanctions. But overall, like one of the people that had posted was a college student, and they're like, yeah, it's not really that bad right now, so I'm just going to stay in school. So, but I think it's definitely on its way to getting worse, right? I mean, their the ruble is down. Um, Banks are getting locked up. They don't know what's going to happen there, and price of goods is going up. So, anyway, that's for another show. That's not for our show.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens as the cyber war in Russia, Ukraine keeps unfolding, but it's pretty crazy. I think cyber
Yeah.
war, and a lot of people have been giving like alerts out right to the rest of the world to say be prepared, especially to the U.S. as far as hacks coming from Russia, and Russia's trying to retaliate, of course, and I don't know, it could be part of why things are getting crazier on this side too. The hack I want to talk about is not related to Russia, apparently, but yeah, I feel like that's going to be interesting as time just kind of progresses throughout this war.
Yeah, I mean, CISA from the Critical Infrastructure Security Association, I think is that what it stands for, is attached to Homeland Security, and they issued a warning about Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. That's what it is. They issued warnings about potential attacks to our infrastructure here, but we'll see. I mean, I think CISA does a pretty good job of notifying our country now, since their inception, of attacks and how to deal with them. I mean, they've done a pretty good job of kind of notifying everyone of ransomware and stuff like that. But we got enough to worry about here without that, right? Like some of the stuff that you want to talk about, the lapsus and that Okta stuff. So
Yeah,
let's
that
dive
was
into that.
that was a recent worry, right? We got that phone call from a couple of our companies that we help out, and I think Okta, right? Okta allegedly was hacked, more or less, and that affected tons of clients. What was it? They got hacked. Apparently, I'll go into the details of exactly what happened, but um, yeah, a bunch of password resets, MFA resets, and clients, of course, were concerned because I've done a lot of tabletop scenarios around this where if your Okta gets hacked, if it gets pushed back out to the companies, wasn't part of this hack, but domain controllers could be compromised. A lot of things can go bad, right? So, but to kind of
Yeah, I
dive
mean, this
into
is
it,
like one of those tabletops that we've done, right? Like
yeah, exactly.
we do the tabletop, and everyone's like, "Oh, that would never happen," and
And then it happened.
then it happens. So,
I remember one of our project managers who she was talking with one of our colleagues here, pinged me. He's like, "Cash, you have anything to do with this?" Oh, I swear, I just make this stuff up, man. I have nothing to
yeah,
do with this.
I mean, on that note, remember a couple years ago, I did the pandemic tabletop, and it was for some company in LA, and I borrowed the LA CERT playbook, right, of what they would do. And I'm like, schools are shut down and parents have got to be home with their kids and they can't come into the office. And there was a guy in the audience who was just like, this would never happen. LA would never shut down. Oh, welcome to COVID.
Yeah, welcome to COVID. It happened.
I mean, we create our tabletops based on reality. It's not like we just make it up completely.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, I think uh, shout out to that one company on the East Coast that said Okta would never be compromised. You know who you are. And we're sitting here telling you, we told you so.
we told you so. And then check this
All right.
out. So how did they get compromised? Lapsus. Who is Lapsus? They figured it out. They honed it down to who this is. And are you ready for this? 16-year-old kid from England. One
Yeah,
six.
that's crazy.
16-year-old kid from England. He calls himself White Dog Spin, right? Microsoft themselves, they gave a name to this hacker, Dev0537, but aka Lapsus, Lapsus with a money sign at the end. And so Microsoft's report, I read it. Microsoft also was a victim of this attacker. This group apparently very new. They popped up a little bit around, like I'd say mid last year. They've been going around attacking places all over, the UK. There's a counterpart of the 16-year-old kid in England. Also is a young guy who lives in Brazil, another teen. And then they're thinking it's about 7 other people, a part of this total group. And their big thing is they're not doing ransomware. They're doing very basic style, just exploitation, right? Taking data, saying, hey, give us money or we'll sell it. And very straightforward, right? And
Yep.
they've been successful. And you know what the crazy part is? You want to know how they're doing it mostly?
Yeah, how are they doing it?
Social engineering. Social engineering, man. They're going back to the basics. They're doing SIM swapping. SIM swapping. What is that? They call up
That's pretty crazy.
yeah, they calling up, the mobile service providers. They find an insider. They pay them off. They say, hey, I have a new SIM. I want this phone number now to be this SIM. The guy swaps it, and they attack a admin or something. That's their target from companies, right? So they'll get a company's admin. They'll find out his phone number. They'll call the wireless company. Say, hey, I have a new SIM. Attach that phone number to this, and then what does that do? That all of a sudden starts shuffling all of that guy's emails, phone, texts,
Yep.
everything to this new SIM that is now in the hands of the attacker on his new cell phone, right?
Yeah. Which was an attack that was not easy to execute. And so it was never really a big worry for me when you did multi-factor authentication and you had it sent to you by text. But now this company or this group's around and now you got to worry.
Now, yeah, and
Got
then
to use like Authenticator or something.
to do that, if you say, okay, well, if that's the situation, there's still MFA has to be set up. Okay, that can be reset, but how are they doing that? This is going back to a new scenario, right? Insider threats.
Yep.
A lot of these attacker groups we've talked about in the past.
Well, not new, but like this method of what they're doing is new,
Yeah,
right?
this method of
Advertising. Yeah.
totally advertising for insider help. The
Yep.
insider themselves is not trying to attack the company necessarily for their own gain. But this Lapsus, they legit put a Twitter post up, right? And I threw that in our channel that we were like looking at earlier. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but it
Yeah, I
literally
saw it. Yep.
says we recruit employees insiders at the following: any company providing telecommunications, large software gaming corporations, call centers, server hosts. And it says, no, we are not looking for data. We are looking for the employee to provide us a VPN or Citrix to the network or some AnyDesk, right?
Yeah.
So they're literally saying, hey, give us your creds. And this was in Microsoft report, right? They're saying they're paying them off and saying, give us your credentials so we can log in to VPN. And then when you get the MFA request, just hit okay, right?
Yeah.
What are
And
you
how
going to do
much are
about
they
that as a
paying?
company?
Did you see that?
Say that again.
And how much are they paying? Did you see
I
that?
didn't know. I didn't see how much they're paying. It doesn't
Uh,
say there. I wasn't able to.
Upwards of $20,000 a
20
week.
G's. That's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
That's crazy, man. I mean, and
Because I mean, think about the people that are answering the phones, right? The people that are in these positions. Especially if it's a call center. I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I don't know how much they charge usually, but I don't think they're making huge sums of money, especially if they're overseas, like India or something. Dude, 20 G's.
oh yeah, that can be a hefty
You're
sum
living
of
large,
money.
man.
And check this out.
I'd be
So,
living large with 20 G's.
oh yeah, I mean, 20 G's, you can do a lot of damage with 20 G's. You can have a nice vacation. You can do a lot of good stuff. But let's go back. Microsoft aside, Microsoft was breached. They said they knew about it. They were actually not cutting them off intentionally. They said that their proprietary source code, nothing of high value was compromised, but they were intentionally just leaving it be so they can track this guy down, right? And they're saying this lapsus group, they weren't on an advanced level like the APT groups. They were not doing anything to cover their tracks at all. So eventually they got them, right. But now Okta confirmed, they said they were breached, but how were they breached? And this is another one of the scenarios that I baked in. Access to a third party support engineer's laptop for a period of 5 days. So
Yep.
Okta themselves wasn't compromised. That third party engineer, his laptop, his or her laptop was compromised. And then all of the clients that third party engineer services, those accounts, passwords, and MFAs were all reset and whatnot.
Right. Which was what, 2.5% of Okta clients or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And that's why Okta is reaching out to their client base and saying, hey, don't be a concern. Okta ourselves, we're not breached. This is how it happened. Third party support engineer. And I mean, I've discussed this in the past too, right? What do you
Yep.
do about those people who are not a part of your immediate company and network that you manage?
Right.
Right?
Look at Target from 2014 or 15 or whatever it was. That was from a third party HVAC vendor.
Yeah, see, there you go, third party
Look
again.
at Ticketmaster, the big breach in 2017, 18, right? That wasn't their network that was compromised with malicious code. It was Inventa, who had, their JavaScript was hosted on their servers and they got compromised. And then Ticketmaster loaded their chat JavaScript into their website and it was scraping credit card data. But it wasn't Ticketmaster's fault. It was Inventa's fault.
See, there it is. It's third party. And that I
Yep.
think it's like the conversation around that is, well, what is the solution, right? What do you do about, because like if you're a third party, I mean, we're all working from home. How secure is your home network necessarily? Are there
Right.
other Internet of Thing devices, your, I don't know, Google switches and Amazon Alexa this and smart TVs, tons of vulnerabilities probably lurking around your house that you don't even know about.
Absolutely. And I mean, even if you're using public Wi-Fi too, like how do you know that when you go to your bank that you're actually going to your bank and not a cloned website on a local web server somewhere, that redirected from the DNS from the router,
Yep.
right? That's why we always recommend doing VPN and stuff like that. And the same could be for home routers too. I mean, there's a number of things that could happen at home, right?
Yeah,
All
I
the
mean,
devices that are coming in from all over, your kids now do remote schooling, so they got stuff that could be infected, and who knows. So
my strategy, remember, like right before COVID happened, I went and bought a hotspot to have at home
yeah,
to connect our forensics machine to that specifically, so it doesn't touch the rest of my network, because I was more concerned about not having getting hacked inward with when I do forensics. I didn't want to like open a bomb and that spread to the rest of my stuff. I wanted to keep that computer separate, but who knows, maybe that's not a bad solution. Say, hey, if you're a third party contractor, here's a hotspot, connect to this and connect to this only, at least. So I don't know, maybe one more layer of security there. Who knows? But then again, it's like, you're working at home like yourself, you have children, you're step away from your computer a second, your kid could come and go on some site. There's a lot of things that could happen. They don't know better.
right.
But
And we all know those teenage boys.
yeah, there's a
We
lot
don't
of
know
shady
what they be
sites for
surfing
teenage
for.
boys. But at least it's way past the time of Napster. Napster, I remember back in the day, I guarantee every single song that I downloaded from Napster 100% had a virus in it. because I would have a brand new computer. 10 songs later, that thing was running so dang slow, so dang slow. But
And
yeah,
then
so
Lapsus also did Microsoft, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean,
The
that's the Microsoft is the report I read. They gave Lapsus a name, Dev 0537.
yeah, and they had what 32 gigs or 37 gigs worth of
Yep.
source code released,
37 gigs. Yep.
and they confirmed it too. So that was pretty crazy. It was funny during the Okta stuff, early on, because Lapsus was saying one thing and Okta was saying another thing. And we have some, Okta supporters in the house. I'm not saying I don't support Okta. I like Okta, but I was not convinced that Okta wasn't breached. And we had one of our guys sitting in the Telegram waiting for new information, right? Because we were kind of keeping tabs on this. And then yeah, lo and behold, here they come showing off that they do in fact actually have access, even though Okta said they didn't. So then Okta had to re-release a statement saying, "Oh yeah, we did actually get hacked," after saying they didn't.
Yeah. That's their public relations team talking there.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
But I mean, I guess some ideas, right? I was reading online, what could you do around further securing just MFA? Create rules, right? Create rules. Say attach an MFA to a specific phone number, to a specific device's MAC address, et cetera, et cetera. If that MAC address obviously gets updated, set alert. Or you have to physically let your company know, say, hey, I got a new cell phone, this is the new MAC address, and then let it go through. One thought there. But then again, if your admin is compromised and they get access to that Okta admin portal, I guess that's a whole nother can of worms, right? But I don't know, what else could you do? What else should you do to kind of secure yourself? The list is
Yeah,
long for sure, but
yeah. I mean, it's really comes down to knowing your environment and then working on. And this is easier said than done, but working on that zero trust model. um, but really scrutinizing logs, right? Making sure that there's not any kind of strange logins after hours, and
yep,
if there's any logins from areas that weren't supposed to be or expected to be logging in to Okta, those would be red flags. But you really, really have to know your network to be able to spot those kind of things. So it's
absolutely. And I
tough.
mean, and that whole after hours thing, that's a great idea for the general company that's maybe based in one region. But we've had
Right.
clients that
When
they're
you're
all
global.
over.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're in US, they're in Canada, they're in the UK, all over the place. And they're like, well, we can't just say don't log in because they log in at all times. It's beyond our control.
Right. Like, I mean, for a perfect example, we had a client that we monitored their environment, and I saw that one login from Nigeria, and I'm like, I think it's legit, but they don't have an office in Nigeria. Like, but it didn't seem like the user was doing anything malicious. They just happened to log in, probably just check an email or whatever. I don't know what they were doing, but I couldn't get anybody on the line from the company. So I ended up having to, lock the account because I couldn't confirm, and rather err on the side of caution. Well, it turns out that the person was a doctor and he's there on family emergency. He had a death in the family. Felt bad for the guy because he's trying to deal with a death in the family, and then here I am locking him out of his account. He can't even work, take his mind off of it. So,
Yeah, it's
but yeah, I
crazy.
mean, when you have a global footprint, it makes it even harder to identify those after hours and also those foreign IPs, right? Um, like we had a case a couple of years ago, fast food chain here in North America, and they were having gigabytes of data offloaded to Dubai. Well, it's like, do you have a restaurant in Dubai? Do you have an office in Dubai? No. Okay, well, why didn't you flag that? Like, why weren't you guys monitoring that? So, anyway, anything else we want to talk about? We covered Microsoft, we covered Lapsus, we covered Okta, we covered Ukraine.
I think we covered it all, man. I mean, oh, the one I did want to say this because you've presented this in the past, and I thought this was an interesting tactic. It's not interesting, but you've gone over it. One of the tactics of Lapsus is they call an organization's help desk, right? And through that, they're trying to get them to, reset credentials or say, hey, my MFA is not working or whatever, right? But the help desks are typically, majority are outsourced. Okay.
Yep.
So then, the help desk doesn't know anybody in the actual company. They're not familiar with who works there. So then they'll ask basic security questions of saying like, hey, what is the first street you lived on? And what's your mother's maiden name, right? So it goes back to the social engineering, and they observe that these guys are just like hunting these people down on, social media, and they have all that information. They pull up pictures from their Facebooks and whatnot, and
Oh
easily
yeah.
answering those questions and say, oh yeah, first street you lived on? Oh yeah, this is my first street I lived on. Mother's maiden
Yep.
name? Oh yeah, no worries. There's my mother's maiden name, and boom.
Yep. Yeah, and a lot of those like online quizzes, that were going around on Facebook, like, what your, I don't know, what's your favorite movie, and it was like a list of like 10 or 12 questions, and people were posting them. Those are all common password reset questions. People just giving away everything. But yeah, I did have, like you said, I've talked about this in the past. Gosh, like back in 2012, 2013, I took over an account for a CFO of a big bank, and I did it based on his social media. The guy had posted everything on his social media. I had pictures of his dad's
Tombstone.
gravestone,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
his mom's gravestone. So I had the dad's first, middle, and last name, birth date, death date. I had the mom's maiden name, death date, birth date, all kinds of stuff. And and his wife, he posted a picture of his wife with their pet. That was like his favorite pet name, and they had their anniversary date pasted up on the Facebook and everything. And yeah,
What's
wasn't
my
hard to
favorite?
take over his account.
What's my favorite is people that, I do this too sometimes. I'm sure everybody has, right? There's a post, and on your birthday, everybody starts saying, hey, happy birthday, happy birthday. And all those comments get tagged with a date,
Yep.
right? So it's like you just have to guess the year at this point, what
Yeah,
your actual birth date year is. Yeah.
definitely. There's a guy,
Just
I
stay
can't remember
off
his name
social
right
media, I
now.
feel, is the safest
Yeah, for sure.
at this point.
But I forget his name. He's been in the security industry for a while. Older guy. It's escaping me. But anyway, every year everyone says happy birthday, like on, March 17th or whatever it is. And he's like, yep, thanks guys. Not really my birthday, but for OPSEC, that's my birthday. Because he doesn't actually put his birthday out there.
See, smart.
He just puts a fake birthday. So
Well, I guess to that point, yeah, stay secure. Okta's not ultra hacked, so no big concern. Microsoft knew about it, so all good there. And I guess till next time, we'll bring you some more updates on Ukraine, and I guess that's it.
yeah, that is it. We are going to try and get back into our regular scheduled programming of having a episode a
Yes,
week.
yes.
So look forward to that. And we are being told by our marketing team that swag is on the way. So
Swag is
keep
coming
posted.
at you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
So
And Cash and I are going to try and be at Black Hat and DEF CON. So maybe we'll run into a couple of you crazy hooligans.
definitely come say hi to us. But until more news unfolds, I guess till next time.
Peace.